Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pressurize this thing, and we're going to check for a leak. Put some pressure on that, and there it goes. Yeah, the coolant reservoir is leaking, as you can see, right down here. Hey, what's up guys? This is Keith and you're watching Barbara's Auto Help. Today I'm going to be showing you how to replace a coolant reservoir on an '01 Ford Escape 3.0. Now most of you may already know this, but just in case I'm going to tell you. You want to make sure that your vehicle is all the way cool before you do this repair. Let your vehicle sit for about 2, maybe 3 hours not running to let it cool down appropriately. Now even after you let the vehicle cool down, you need to take precautions because you could still get burned potentially. So just be careful. Whenever you take the cap off, you're going to spin it lefty-loosey and remove it slowly and place a rag over it. Wear safety glasses, and I also recommend nitrile gloves. But do remove it slowly and let the pressurized gas bleed off slowly. Don't let it explode in your face. It shouldn't if you let it cool down. Now a lot of folks will drain the cooling system completely before trying to do this repair. I like to do things the quick and easy way. I'm going to clamp off this bottom hose here with the special approved radiator hose clamp off pliers, and you can see that one goes to the bottom of the reservoir right there. I'm also going to clamp off the top one too, just like so. The coolant reservoir is held on by two 10mm nuts, and they're located right here and right here. We're just going to go ahead and remove those. Pull up on this end here like that. You got some wiring going through the back side through a little loop on the coolant reservoir. Just pull that wiring out. Now we'll need to disconnect the coolant level sensor from the harness there, and this is that loop I was telling you about where this harness went through. We just had to remove it from that little loop there. Now on this coolant level sensor, you got a tang on this side of the connector and a tang on this side of the connector. But I'm going to take this nail here and I'm sorry, I don't have a screwdriver or a pick. I knew I was going to make this video this weekend, but somehow I left them at work. You're just going to pull up on that tang there and try to get it over that rib. Pull up on this tang also. And disconnect it just like that. I'll show you a little bit more clearly what I was doing there. That's a little tang, and that's a little tang that holds onto those little ribs. We're just spreading them out just a little bit to get it past the ribs, so that it can be disconnected. Alright, now I'm just going to take my coolant reservoir and dump it out. Alright, and when you're doing this, guys, don't put undue stress on these hoses here. You don't want to stress them out and possibly weaken them. So you want to make sure you got enough slack, or that your container is put down low enough for you to dump this out. You could have somebody hold a container down here. And by the way, when I say down here, I mean in the front of the bumper, right this way, in front of the headlight there. You can have somebody holding this container in front of the headlight, and you can just loop this thing right over the headlight like that and drain the coolant reservoir out. So just be careful. Don't cause a secondary leak, okay? Alright, now we got to remove the hoses. To do that, you have to remove these hose clamps here. Let's take a pair of vice grips or pliers and just squeeze that together like that. Slide it on down and release. Same thing with the big one. Just grab the two tangs and squeeze them together. Slide the hose clamp down. Once you got that, just very easily and gently, we're not really digging into this hose, we're just grabbing it and moving it back and forth. We're breaking it loose, and then now we're going to pull out on this hose, and there may still be some coolant in there, so have your catch pan up underneath the vehicle, up under the engine, to catch any coolant that may still be in there. You don't want this going into the ground. It's bad for the environment. Grab this one and move it back and forth very gently, just like that. Don't break the surface of the hose using your vice grips doing that. You're doing that very gently. Alright, so we got our reservoir totally disconnected and it's out of the vehicle. Alright, the installation is basically the reverse procedure. Go ahead and start with your small hose. Slide it on. Big hose. Slide it on. Slide your hose clamps back in place. And there's a little indention where the hose clamp was sitting to begin with. Put the hose clamp exactly back into that same position that it was in before, and that's outlined by that indentation on the hose there. Somehow it just works better when you do that. So put it right back in like that. Same thing with the little one. We got to reconnect our coolant level sender. There's a little rib right here that corresponds to the rib inside that connector. It only goes on one way. Make sure it snaps in good. Give it a little tug, make sure it don't slide off. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and remove our clamps off of our hoses, excuse me. Then we're going to set our reservoir down into place. Now you see you got this little holder right here that has like this little horseshoe shape to it. It's going to slide down over that stud right there, and then you got an eyelet right here that's going to go right over that stud. And there's a little hole down there that receives this little cleat on the bottom of the coolant reservoir. If you got a stick in there like I do, it won't sit down all the way. Make sure your hole is nice and clean and cleared out, ready to receive your reservoir. So let's go ahead and get it down into place. And the wire harness goes up and over that part. There we go. Let's take our two nuts, place them on the studs, run it down, run it down. Also, another good thing to note, you notice these two hoses here, they have these little holders that keep them held together. Make sure that the hoses are back inside those holders once you're done. Now folks, it is highly possible that when you put this hose on and you put the hose clamp back on, that this hose could be twisted a little bit on that shaft on the outlet of the coolant reservoir. So if you see that your hose is kind of twisted, kind of like that, what you can do is just release your hose clamp there, wiggle your hose back and forth until it looks relaxed like this, and then reapply your hose clamp there. You don't want to have your hose twisted like that, because that can put undue stress on it and possibly cause a hose failure in the future. Same thing with the bottom hose down there. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and fill our reservoir with some 50/50 coolant. Use the appropriate coolant specified for your vehicle. Check your owner's manual and your repair manual for that information. And there is a fill range noted on the side of the bottle here. You got a little arrow pointing up and down. This is the cold range right here. So I think I might have a little bit of air in my system, so I overfilled it a little bit. But I'm going to burp the system just to make sure it's good. I'm not going to show that in this video. Of course, you got to put your radiator cap on. And you should be good to go. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please read the entire description of this video before you attempt this. I'll have a lot more very important information about this that can be found there. I'll also have a disclaimer, and if you have any questions, please comment below. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. I am having a bit of high traffic on my channel right now, so I'm kind of going crazy trying to keep up with all the comments and questions, but I will do my best to get to you. Thank you again, guys.